If you're watching this video, you probably own the Genie II motion control system and want to know how to get the most out of it. However, if you're using a different system, some of the tips would still apply to them, so don't be too quick to write this video off just yet. In this video, there are going to be two main segments. The first one would cover all the situations I would use the Genie II in to get shots that would make you stand out in the world of filmmaking. The second segment would cover how I set up my equipment to make sure my workflow is optimized and tips to make sure that the shots are the best they can be. To know more about the Genie II motion control system, I made a comprehensive review about it. Do check it out via the link in the description below. If you guys are new to this channel, do consider subscribing for more of such content in the future. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Bernard and welcome to the channel. For today's video, we'll be taking a close look at using the Genie II motion control system in real-world scenarios and how to make the most out of it. I got a Genie II from Cathay Photo in Singapore, so if you're interested in this product, do check out their website. I'll leave the link in the description below. By the way, this is not a sponsored video and my thoughts will not be influenced in any way. So with the disclaimer out of the way, let's begin this tutorial. If you would like to skip the segment where I share the scenarios I use the Genie II in and jump straight to how I set it up to optimize my workflow, skip to this part of the video. If not, let's first look at some of the unique things that only a motion control system can do. One of my favorite things to do with the Genie II is to take my time-lapse game to the next level. A time-lapse is quite unique on its own, but when you're able to add 3-axis movement to a time-lapse, it makes the footage much more dynamic and instantly makes your work stand out more. Such shots will be impossible to achieve without the motion control system, so I highly recommend you to make full use of this feature. The relative of a time-lapse will be stop motion. The Genie II is able to make stop motion videos with 3-axis movement by allowing you to move the slider frame by frame. This will allow you to get stunning footage like this, and the stop motion feature is usually not found on cheaper motion control systems. If you want to be able to do stuff like that, you would have to get an advanced system like the Genie II. Another scenario where a motion control system is necessary is when you want to create unique cloning or masking effects. To pull off such effects successfully, you need the movement of your first shot and second shot to be absolutely precise. Such results will be almost impossible to achieve if done manually. Now, let's take a look at some scenarios where using a motorized slider is not absolutely necessary, but it's definitely going to make getting good footage consistent and effortless. The feature I'll be talking about now is the loop function. This would cause the slider to repeat its movement until you stop it or the batteries run out. So when would this feature be useful? I can think of two main occasions. A common one would be for interview setups. We are able to create a much more dynamic shot of an otherwise boring static talking head. Yes, this is achievable manually. However, it's going to require a lot of effort, especially if the interview runs long. It also eliminates the possibility of human error. Another scenario where I find this feature particularly useful is when I have no control of my subject. For example, when I'm out filming wildlife, I'm unable to predict when and what they will do. With a motion control system, I can set up for the framing I want, keep it on loop with the camera rolling, and effortlessly wait for the moment I want to capture happen. If you try to do this manually, there is a chance that you will miss the fleeting moment. The last scenario, which is what I use this slider most commonly for, is to capture cinematic looking footage. It can be for B-roll or A-roll. Whatever it is, if you need smooth movements, you can definitely rely on the Genie II to help you achieve it. It is arguable that these shots can be achieved manually with a slider, which I do use at times depending on the scenario. However, how the footage turns out will be highly dependent on the skills of the camera operator, and it may or may not be the most effective way to do things. Also, if you're a one-man crew like me, a motorized slider is the only way to get dynamic shots of myself. I personally feel that the pros of using a motorized slider outweighs the cons, and I'll definitely choose to use it over a manual one if given a choice. Now that I've shared the scenarios where I'll use a motorized slider in, let's move on to how I set up my equipment for a smooth workflow. One of the biggest barriers to people adopting a motorized slider into their workflow is probably the perception that it requires a lot of time to set up. I would like to clarify that with the ergonomics of the Genie II, paired with a couple of quick release plates, I am able to modify this system into multiple configurations very efficiently. Allow me to demonstrate. In front of me is a traditional camera setup on a tripod and a fluid head. In under a minute, I'm able to attach a slider and make it fully motorized. The process is quite straightforward and effortless. Removing the pan and tilt axis to make it a single linear axis slider is also very convenient. If needed, I am also able to switch to a completely manual system should I prefer that. I hope this demonstration has shown you how easy it is to configure your setup to what you need. However, out of the box, this product will not be able to do that. What I did was attach a couple of quick release plates between the tripod, fluid head, slider, and the linear motion module. You also have to attach a base plate of your choice on top of the pan tilt system, as the included plate is proprietary. What is potentially the most time consuming is tying and untying the rope that makes the linear module move. My solution for this is to leave the rope there when I remove the motion module for storage or when I switch to manual mode. In my experience, it does not really get in the way of moving parts and there are no issues when in storage apart from it fumbling about. That is all that I do to make this system as ergonomic as I demonstrated. Another thing that I do to streamline the setup process is by saving presets of my most commonly used movements. If you do not save these presets, setting up your shot each time you open the app can get rather time consuming. By using presets, you just have to make minor adjustments and you're ready to start rolling in under a minute. My advice to you is to always set up your slider with the bubble level and the clamp towards you, and there are a few reasons to do so. One is that it will be easier to use the bubble level when making adjustments. Another is so that you are more likely to remember unclamping the carriage before using the slider. Lastly, the most important reason is so that you can differentiate the left from the right, because when using presets, you are unable to reverse your start and the end point. Now that we have covered how to efficiently set up the Genie II system for a shot, let's talk about how to set up the slider to be as stable as possible. I have established in my review video that this slider is capable of smooth shots. However, we can't fight physics and the slider will flex on extreme ends. To avoid this, you might want to have 2 or more points of contact to ensure stability. Probably the most convenient way if you have limited equipment is to make use of your environment. This way, even though you have only one tripod, you are still getting 2 points of contact. This method can be used both horizontally or at an angle. However, you are limited to what is in your surroundings. To have more flexibility, using 2 tripods will be your best bet. What I usually do is set up both tripods to the desired height and lock the legs. To make minor adjustments to the height, I use a center column. I also tend to leave both ball heads unlocked when making adjustments for more flexibility. I only lock the ball head when I have leveled the slider to my desired position. That is pretty much how I set up my slider to be stable based on the equipment that I have. Since we are on the topic of filming at an angle, there are a few things you might want to note. You will notice that your camera's horizon is not leveled. That is because the pan tilt module does not have a roll axis. There are a few ways to rectify this. One of them is to attach an additional ball head on top of the pan tilt head and you can level the horizon. However, with this method, you will still kind of get 3-axis motion, but it will be limited. If you don't have a ball head to spare, another solution would be to unclamp the pan tilt module and rotate it to modify the tilt axis to become a roll axis. But like before, this solution will limit the 3-axis motion. The best solution is to use the tilt accessory between the linear module and the pen tilt module, so you can level the horizon and stay at full 3-axis movement. However, this method will require you to purchase an additional accessory, and that will cost you money. Now that we have covered how to set up the slider externally, we will now move on to the best settings for the Genie II to achieve smooth cinematic footage. The linear motion module is quite fast, capable of covering the track distance of 60 cm within 5 seconds. Although the footage is definitely usable, I think that keyframing an ease in and ease out movement is crucial to getting a smooth shot. I'm going to show you a few clips shot with different ease in and ease out speeds, and we will identify which looks the best out of them all. Looking at all the clips, I would say that the sweet spot seems to be 1/3 of your travel duration. Now, we will add a pan and a tilt movement and see if the results are the same. I will set the ease in and ease out speed to be equal on all 3 axes. If I were to scrutinize the shots, I would say that they're not perfect, as you could see some jerks every now and then. In fact, the weird thing is that the longer I set the ease in and ease out duration to be, the more apparent the jerks become. It seems like the sweet spot to avoid all these jerks is to set it at 1/5 of your travel duration. I was also curious as to how stabilization in post would help improve the clips. With stabilization applied, my favorite clip was the one that has an ease in and ease out speed of 1/3 of the clip's duration. I would like to point out that the jerks you saw in the earlier examples were more apparent when I was shooting closer to the subject. When I'm shooting from a further distance, it seems like the jerks are almost non-existent. And under the circumstances that you're shooting close-ups like the earlier examples, it's good to know that simply applying stabilization in post seems to fix it. That is pretty much all I have to share on how I set up my Syrp equipment to be efficient for my workflow, how I set up the slider on location, and the settings I use to get the best footage I can from this product. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. That's it for today. It's a wrap!